Hi everybody, today I want to talk about degenerative hips, so a painful arthritic hip. In my experience, if the hip is not too degenerative, there's a lot of hope in terms of restoring range of motion, less pain, and going about your life and doing the things you want to do. So let's talk about exactly what a degenerative hip is. You're supposed to have space in your hip joint. So we all have about, this is the femur bone, the leg bone, this is the big bone that comes into the acetabulum, which is your hip socket. There should be space in between the bone and the other bone. So in between both bones, the hip socket and the femur bone. And these bones form the joint. And that space is comprised of cartilage, there's fluid in there, and other shock absorbers that allow there to be cushion. Now in a degenerative hip or an arthritic hip, what's happening is that that space has started to decrease. Or in some cases, it's decreased all the way where the cartilage has worn out and it's now bone on bone. And that's never a good thing because bone on bone is painful that you don't have any more shock absorption, but also you don't have the ability of full range of motion anymore because part of the reason for this space is shock absorption, but also range of motion in the joint. So the hip joint is amazing, right? It's designed to go forward, it's designed to go backward, it's designed to go out, in, and then do this full range of motion. So it's kind of like the arm bone, only the arm bone's a lot more mobile, but a lot less stable. The hip bone is mobile and stable both. So it's really an incredible joint, but when you lose motion, when you lose that space in the joint, then it can create a ton of pain, a lot of dysfunction, and it can wreak havoc on your whole body. And the hip is really central to all motion and movement. When you're walking and running and biking and everything, having a free-flowing hip joint is absolutely imperative. So the goal is to restore that motion and that function. Always, always, because the motion is starting to lack in the joint, the muscles on the front of the hip get short and tight. The psoas muscle in particular, which is the deep hip flexor muscle that connects from your lower back all the way into your leg bone. As you can imagine, if that gets really tight, that can also affect your lower back, right? So lower back pain, and hip tightness and arthritic hip, they can all go together. But here's the other thing. Let's say you have a degenerative or an arthritic left hip. The opposite shoulder is often also affected because when you walk, instead of the hip joint going behind you, all the way behind you, it's instead taking your pelvis with it because the femur bone is stuck. It's no longer moving. So the pelvis rotates, and watch what happens. If my pelvis rotates as the leg goes behind me, look at my right shoulder. It follows. So the right shoulder eventually will start to, or the opposite shoulder if it's the right hip, the opposite shoulder always starts to rotate forward and starts to get stuck. It starts to lose its range of motion and function. And that, of course, is not good either because if a shoulder starts to tighten down, now you got shoulder issues. And the problem is that most people, especially a lot of therapists, don't correspond shoulder pain to the opposite hip or even sometimes the same side hip. But they're always interlinked. They're always interdependent. Motion in one depends on motion in the other, which is why we have to address both. So the exercises you're going to get are also going to address shoulder function and position, the upper back position, and of course the hip function. One last thing. A degenerative hip means a couple things. As I mentioned, the rotation, especially external rotation and internal rotation, abduction and adduction, are always compromised. The other part, though, is that the pelvis is no longer able to roll forward over the femur. Okay, so when we walk and when we run, there's motion of the femur moving, but also the pelvis gliding over. And it's that glide that's also been lost because there's no more space. There's no more space and there's no more room for any of it to glide. So we have to restore that glide along with that motion. And as you do that, you will feel a lot better. To the degree you're able to do that really depends on how degenerative the hip is. So if you have bone on bone and it's killing you, then you'll know that it might be time for a hip replacement. And there is a time and a place for hip replacement, but let's do everything we can to avoid that. And I want to help you with that. Okay, so let's get into the exercises. Here we go. Okay, the first exercise, as I said, we've got to go after some shoulder function, then we're going to go after the whole upper body alignment, the function of the pelvis, and the function of the hip joint. We've got to lengthen out that front part of the hip. So, feet straight. Spread your fingers out, curl the top knuckles down, arms straight out from your shoulders, shoulder blades squeeze down and back, and you're going to rotate forward. And you're going to do about 40 or so of these, 40 or 50. You want to squeeze the shoulder blades back, and you want your thumbs pointing straight ahead, palms down. Now, this exercise is all about realigning your shoulders and your upper back, restoring shoulder motion, and also this exercise is going to set you up for the next exercise that's coming, which is all about shoulder motion and function as well, but a little bit of warm up first helps. Now, left hand goes on your left shoulder, right hand underneath. Pull both elbows up overhead. So your left elbow and your right elbow go up overhead, and you're going to pull that up and hold that. Now you want to make sure that your feet are about fist width apart and pointing straight ahead. So fist width, pointing straight ahead, not turned out. Pull that straight up, hold that. Right elbow up over your head as well, not down here. Okay, everything up. And you're going to hold this for about 30 seconds. Then you're going to gently bend to your right. Big bend, but you're going to feel a pretty good stretch across your side and maybe across your stomach and maybe even into the front of that hip. Okay, so you're going to bend. Keep pulling that elbow back. Hold that for a second. Just gentle. Breathe. And then come up. You're going to do it one more time. You're going to bend to the side. Try and breathe. And come up. Just a few seconds here and there is great. Then switch sides. Okay, so right hand on the right shoulder, left hand underneath. Pull straight up overhead. Just like that. You're going to hold this for a good 30 seconds, I said. And then you're going to bend to your left. Okay, gentle bend all the way toward your left. You're going to feel the right side stretching a little bit on your side, maybe the tricep, maybe the lat. All kinds of things might be stretching here, but you're just going to kind of bend and kind of reach. And you're going to feel that stretch, and it'll get easier. Come on up. Take a breath or so, and then go in there, go down one more time for that stretch. And come up. Great. Okay, next one. You're going to stand next to the wall or a chair or something that you're going to brace yourself. You're going to take your leg that's painful. So if your right hip is the painful hip, you're going to take your right foot and you're going to put it behind you on a chair or a table or a couch, just like this, okay? And the height is going to depend on what you can take, because you're going to feel a stretch, okay? If you're feeling pretty flexible and you want to grab that foot, you can do that too, all right? So you can grab that foot and you can hold that, but I recommend putting it behind you on something. So you're going to take your hips, you're going to tuck under. So you're not swaying forward, you're actually rolling your pelvis under like you're doing a pelvic tilt. You're going to have noticed that there's going to be a pretty good stretch. You want to keep your knees level here. Okay, you don't want one knee out to the side. And as you tuck under, you're going to hold that and just breathe, relax your shoulders. If you want to let go of the wall or the chair, you can do that too. You can stand on your own. Okay, but this is lengthening out that psoas muscle, lengthening out the thigh muscle. It's restoring a little bit of motion to the hip joint. And you can do this several times a day, anytime you want. It's a great exercise to relieve pain from that painful hip, just in itself. So you hold on to that, tuck under, and then relax. Okay, now keep in mind, you're not going to do both sides, and the reason is that most of the time with a degenerative or arthritic painful hip, it's going to hurt to stand on that leg while you're doing the other side. So if it doesn't hurt to do the other side, then fine, go for it. But if it does, if you have pain while standing and loading that painful hip, then don't worry about it. Just do the side that's painful. Just stretch the side that's painful. Okay, next exercise. This one, you're actually going to lie down on your back. So you're gonna lie down, knees bent, and you're going to keep your feet straight, again about fist width apart, and you're gonna push your hips up in the air, and then back down, and then up all the way, and back down. You're just gonna go up and down, just like this. Hips going up, as high up as you can go, back down, all the way up. Just touch the ground with your hips and then back up. And you want to do about 20 or 30 of these. And every time you go up, you want to try and go a little higher. Okay, so when you get to 30, then what you're going to do is you're actually going to do one leg. You're going to straighten out the other leg, and you're going to push your hips up again. Just like that. You're just going to do a few of these. We're just going to isolate the hip joint really quickly. You're going to feel a lot of work on the hamstring. You might get a cramp. Then switch legs. You can do both legs on this side. Okay, up and down. Just like that. Okay, just again about 5 reps there. And then after you do that single leg, you're going to do the double leg one more time. Just about 10 more times. All the way up. Now, you might notice your lower back is getting tired. That's normal. Those extensor muscles of your lumbar spine, your lower back, are working hard. Okay. Next exercise. You're going to straighten out both legs. You're going to put your right heel on top of your left toe. Palms down, straight out from your shoulders. And you're gonna rotate over towards your left side. So right heel on left toe, thighs tight, feet pulled back. Make sure those knees are locked out, and you're gonna rotate, you're gonna roll. And hold that for about 30 seconds. As high as you can go, as far as you can go, then you're gonna switch. Other side. Big rotate. Roll, 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 palms down. And 30 seconds, relax. Okay, next exercise. Next exercise, you're gonna go on your stomach. And you're going to rest your forehead all the way down on the ground, feet on the ground, palms down. And you're gonna rest your forehead down on the ground too. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach forward with your left hand as far as you can. I'm reaching that way as far as I can, and my right foot is reaching behind me that way as far as I can. So reaching back with my left foot, it's staying on the ground, it's not lifting up. My left hand reaches forward, my right foot reaches back, head down. Hold that for a good 3 or 4 seconds, and then switch. Right hand reaches way forward. Left foot now reaches way back. Reach, reach, reach. As far as you can go, and then switch. Now you're going to do about 10 of these each side. Left hand reaches, right foot reaches back, and then switch again. Again, 3-second holds. So left foot now, I'm reaching back, my right hand is reaching forward. Okay, so about 10 of those each side. Okay, next exercise, you're going to come up on your elbows. Feet are just relaxed. Elbows underneath your shoulders. Shoulder blades are going to drop back. Take your hands, pry them away from each other. Squeeze those shoulder blades back. Just like this. Relax your hips. Relax your shoulder blades. You're squeezing back. Your elbows are underneath your shoulders. Take your hands and pry them away from each other. So you're prying that way. And you're going to feel, again, a little bit of work in your lower back. You're going to feel your mid-back. We're repositioning the shoulders, repositioning the spine, allowing the hip joint to fall in position. And you'll hold this for about 1 minute. Okay, a couple more exercises left. This one is very simple. For this exercise, you're going to have a yoga strap, if you have one. If not, a belt will work as well. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to put each foot in the strap. So you're going to tie the strap or belt around your feet. You're going to tighten it down so that you have your feet are about fist width apart. And They're straight ahead, but you don't need to hold them there because this strap is holding them there. And you're gonna put your heels up on a couch or the edge of a chair so that your heels are on the very edge and your feet are now suspended by the strap. And you're just gonna relax. You're gonna drop back, palms up out to your sides, and breathe and relax your hips, relax your knees, relax your feet. Everything here should be totally, completely relaxed. And like I said, you're just gonna breathe. Now what this is doing is this exercise is providing traction for your hip joint. And you wanna do this for 10 to 20 minutes. I know it sounds like a long time, but it's taking you a long time to get here with this degeneration. So you want the time to be your best friend. You wanna wait this out. You wanna breathe. And you'll eventually feel just your hips settle, your spine will settle, everything will kind of settle back to neutral. As I said, this is really about traction, distraction of your hip joint. It's about relaxing your spine. It's about taking out the twist in your back. So this exercise is imperative and a fantastic exercise to do if you have an aching arthritic degenerative hip. Okay, 10 to 20 minutes. All right. Last exercise, you're going to stand up. You're going to get your feet straight again, about fist width apart. Interlace your hands together. Lock out your arms, straight up overhead. Lock out your elbows, pull up. Now this exercise is reminding your body of its ability to work together as a unit. It's restoring your posture. It's restoring the alignment of your spine, of your shoulders, and your hips all in one exercise. And it's gonna leave you much more balanced and much more equal. And it'll also leave you feeling better. Again, another exercise you can do anytime if you have hip pain that will feel better. Okay, about 1 minute just like that. Now, to recap, if there are 2 exercises, if you have just a short amount of time during your day and you need 2 exercises to do, I recommend these 2. That quad stretch that I told you about, where that foot's behind you, knees are level, taking your hips, tucking under, hold that for a good 1 minute or 2 minutes if you want. And then that last one we just did, interlace your hands together, lock out your arms straight up overhead and hold that for about 30 seconds, a minute if you feel like it. Those 2 exercises will relieve pain and have you walking better just like that, okay? So, good luck with it. Please let me know how you did with it. If you have any comments, questions, please share this also with others who you might know have hip pain or degenerative hips. And I'll hope to see you again here very soon.